Huh? Do I need to hold this? Oh, okay. It's limited my talking skills now. All right, great to have you all here. I appreciate New Mexico letting me come out. I love coming out and doing this, talking about rules, talking about stunt technique, etc. Both myself and Jim Lord, we actually work with the National Federation on their rules, rule changes, etc. So I have a good working knowledge of the last 4 years in particular and kind of the logic that's been going on behind the scenes on why rules have changed, etc. Before we get started on the actual rule changes, I just want to emphasize one thing about rules in general. Rules were not originally written to be parameters used at a competition. Okay? When the first sets of safety rules came out for cheerleading, it was more about helping all coaches across the country, whether you're at a small little town, whether you have a lot of knowledge, whether you don't have as much knowledge and you're trying to gain knowledge, etc., to run a safe program. As competitions came into play and got to become more important and more visible, etc., those competition companies went to the existing sets of rules to give their game, so to speak, a parameter, a set of parameters, okay? So that's why rules and competitions have become tied in so closely. The one thing that kind of bothers me about the competition side of looking at rules is the fact that a lot of people think it is their job as a choreographer or a coach to look at a rule and figure out how to get around it, sometimes by doing something even more dangerous than what the rule was written for. I want y'all to keep that in mind when you're going back and working with your program. Whether you're competitive or not doesn't matter. But when you're working with your squad, always think about progressions, look honestly at their ability level, and if you are doing competitions, stay within the rules. And if you're working on a skill that takes so much technique, thought process, pure strength, flexibility, etc., to get around the rule, maybe you shouldn't be trying to get around the rule. Okay, and so keep that in mind, because safety first is why rules were written. All right, so with that said, we're going to go through the rule changes. I will tell you that from my standpoint, over the last 3 years in particular, the main rule changes have been, most of them have involved inversions, allowing more, allowing a little bit more, allowing a little bit more. Also, one of the goals of the NFHS and ACA was to get all of their rules written so that they're all reading exactly the same and they're basically the same set of rules. Now, they may be worded a little bit differently, and I know with the NFHS they're trying to clean up their rules book as well, because a rule is only as safe as the coach who can understand it. So if it's complicated or takes you 5 different pages to find it, it's probably not a rule that's making you safer, because most people aren't understanding it anyway. So that's kind of been some of their goals and ACA's goals as well. I can tell you that from my standpoint, I don't see a lot of rule changes coming down the pike after this set. I think that the rules are in a very good place. I think they allow for a lot of creativity and fun athleticism outlet for the kids who are participating. And I also think it's but it's still in a very safe aspect as far as cheerleading, and no huge increased risks of injury to allow some of this stuff. So I think the rules are in a really good place. Most of these rule changes that you'll see this year are not so much changes in actually allowing or disallowing. It's more about rewriting existing rules to make more sense and allow you to teach certain stunt techniques with the proper technique. As an example, everybody know what a pancake is? You know what a pancake is? You're here and you fold down. Last year, if you did a pancake, it was, bless you. Last year, if you did a pancake, it was allowed, but you had to pancake between this distance right here. Because once you got to here, you couldn't fold over anymore because you were at extended level and you couldn't be inverted, even if you were moving, right? Well, that's not really the way you would teach a pancake. You're going to teach a pancake, you want to go up high. You want to give yourself plenty of room to spot it. The rules have now been rewritten to allow proper technique on that. So you're going to see a lot of this is not so much about, oh, this is now allowed. It's more of, you can now do this with proper technique. You can now take this up and back down. There are some new things that are allowed as well. So we're going to go through all these. Again, if you have any questions, make sure you stop me, ask the questions. If there's something you really don't understand, I still have my live demos up here. Okay? As much as they've been loving those inversions, they're still up here. If we need to show something live, we can, but I do have photos built into the PowerPoint as well. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started. All right, so first off, we're going to start out with a few definitions that have been added or changed in the rule book. All right, the first one here, this has been added, a foldover stunt. The reason this was added is because this wording is used in some of the rules, as you'll see when we get into the writing of them. And basically, foldover stunt is an inverted stunt in which the top person bends at the waist and is caught on his or her back by multiple catchers, with one person being in contact with the ankle or the feet. Basically, a yo-yo, a pancake, waterfall out, etc. Okay? Can you all see this picture right here? Here's a pancake right here. That's a yo-yo over there. Okay? Everybody understand that definition? Because the word foldover will be used later in some rule stuff. Everybody good with that? Got a good visual of what that means? Awesome. Another definition change basically was for roll, the word roll. It's now a hip overhead rotation. Okay, the rest of it's the same. That is execute on the performing surface during a partner stunt, etc., etc. Basically, this just, it was a little bit of a change to make the suspend roll make more sense. Also, some of your braced flip roll pyramid visuals, it helps make that make more sense. Okay, so just a little definition change of adding head instead of foot. There's also now a definition for the word tumbling. The main reason for this definition, in New Mexico at your state championship, do you all have a non-tumbling division? No? Then the definition doesn't really matter to you all that much. It's basically to clear up what is tumbling and what are inverted loads to stunts. Because, as you all saw in the inversions class, a lot of the ways we get into the handstand is what? A back handspring, a round off, which technically we're using tumbling verbiage, but it's considered loading and not tumbling because the actual tumbling definition states that it begins and ends on the performing surface. So if I do a back handspring, but before I get my feet back down, bases grab me and pick me up, then that's not tumbling. So you can do those inversions in non-tumbling divisions. Okay? There will be a little changes to what you can tumble over. We'll see those in a little while. So that's basically another definition that's been added. Everybody good on that? Okay, there's been a little clarification on, in particular, walking boots. Okay, does everybody know what a walking boot is? Does anybody have a walking boot on? No? Oh, good. We're an injury-free group. That's awesome. Most of the time, somebody's wearing a walking boot. Basically, a walking boot is that boot that comes up to about your knee. It has the rounded bottom, so that a lot of people with like ankle, maybe a broken bone in the foot or something like that, it takes pressure off by rolling the foot, okay? Basically, what this is it clarifies that if you're in a walking boot, you cannot be involved in any stunt where you are required, any stunt, pyramid, or toss. So as an example, if a double base extension goes up, does that require a spotter? Yes. If I'm a spotter with a walking boot on, can I be the spotter? No. That's what that means now. I'm required to be here as a spotter, so I can't wear a walking boot. If I'm at a double base stunt at prep, and I happen to be standing back in behind it as a spotter, and I'm in a walking boot, is that okay? That would be okay, because I'm not required to be in that stunt to make it any safer. Double base stunts at prep do not require a spotter. Does that make sense on the difference? Obviously, all stunts require bases, so if you're basing it, you automatically can't be in a walking boot. This is more about clearing up when spotters can be in place. The other thing you'll notice is that it doesn't say anything about tumbling or jumps. Okay? Now, I'm not going to recommend that somebody in a walking boot tumble or jump, but if a doctor gives a kid a release to go back and participate, the rules board did not feel they should write rules against what a doctor is clearing them for. But they did feel like they were in a position to write rules to protect other people of possibly being injured by somebody who has a walking boot. So if they're cleared to tumble, cleared to jump, more power to you. Wouldn't recommend it. I don't know how many people would actually be cleared for that, but that's why tumbling and jumps are not even mentioned in this. It's all about the group stuff. Okay? Does that make sense for everybody? Everybody clear on that? Beautiful. This is the stuff we're going to be covering right now. Inversion changes, release to loads, inversion height, fold over, suspend rolls, inversions with props, and dismounts. These are the things that we're going to cover that have either been added, restricted, or the wording's been changed. You'll notice one main thing, most of it is about inversion still. Okay, so that we're still mainly, most of these rules are involved with inversions. The first one, release to a load. Okay, in the past, inversions have always had a wording where when you're inverted, somebody has to be in contact with you, right, at the trunk of the body. Trunk of the body meaning waist up, including the arms and hands. Somebody's got to be in contact with you, all right? Now, there was one stunt in particular, and it's this one that's photographed. You see where she's in a push-up position? They drive her off the ground and she flips, and then they catch her in a load. Does everybody kind of get a visual of that stunt? Has people seen that before? In the past, what did you have to do to make that legal? You had to, people were like putting a leg up and you'd hold the shoe and they'd try to stand up on the shoe. Or one of the persons would say they were touching the back the whole time and they were back spotting it and all that kind of stuff. But really, the best way to teach this is to release it. But the rule wouldn't allow that, right? Because you couldn't release while inverted. Now you can. It's written as an exception. The top person in an inverted position on the performing surface can be released to a loading position below shoulder height. Okay? Below shoulder height. So this means I can come off of a push-up. They can release me totally because that's actually the best way to do the stunt, and then re-grab it. And they can go as high as they want. Matter of fact, we want it to go high. The higher, the safer. They finish high, they're able to spot the shoulders, bases can spot the feet. Okay? Notice the restrictions though. They can land in a loading position below shoulder height. So you cannot do that to a prep. Okay? You can't even do it to a double base thigh stand because that's not a loading position. You can do it to a loading position, which is 2 foot, 1 foot, or back on the ground like a quick, and then quick toss back up or something like that. Does everybody understand this and visually know what we're talking about? Anybody that's having trouble picturing what this is? Raise your hands if you are. It's no problem. Okay, cool. So everybody's got that. Most people have seen this before, and it was always so awkward and so weird. Now you can actually teach it the right way. Okay? And you can spin this. There's no rule against spinning it, other than it's very hard. It is hard to spin it. Okay? But this also opens up that you can also do, like anybody familiar with multi-base college stunting? Anybody familiar with that, where you do like all-girl back handspring up or multi-base back handspring ups? You can now do that because what does a back handspring end in? It puts you right in this position. So I can actually back handspring into it, block the chest, drive it up. Okay? So everybody good on this? So this is one of the big changes where the wording actually helps us and helps you all teach your technique better. Everybody good? Awesome. Okay, inversion height. This is another one that's allowing us now to do stunts with better technique. Inversions may now pass above the extended position as long as they start and stop below it. Okay? As an example, let me check something real quick. You know, I actually don't like that picture. Can you guys do a pancake for me? I'm going to let them show you a live example because this actually is one of their favorite stunts as well. This is the perfect stunt that shows how the difference between last year and this year is. This is a pancake. Okay? So I want y'all to watch how they do this pancake. So they go up to the top, but that's not where they'll pancake from. They drop to shoulder level, pancake, and then roll out. But when they went to do the actual pancake, where did they go back to? They almost went all the way back up, didn't they? But where did they start? Prep level. Then they passed the extended level, but it was continual movement. They never stopped, so it's still legal. But now instead of me having to pancake right here, I can take it up, give it nice and high. It allows the bases to spot the back, gives the top plenty of time, so I can do it with better technique. So you can pass through inverted. You can be inverted and pass through above the head all you want as long as you don't stop. Okay? So below extended level, back to extended level, and as long as you don't stop. So like down here at the bottom, yeah, like a hand-to-hand extended, that would be illegal because that's an actual stunt. You stopped, extended, inverted. Okay? So you can't do that. But I could take somebody in a loading position. I could go and pass them through, drop them into a cradle. That's perfectly legal because I continually moved. Does that make everybody see the difference? Okay. Also, like a needle. Everybody know what a needle is? It's where it's like you would go into like an arabesque, and then you'd bend down. This, by the way, is my needle. That's as much needle as you're going to get from me. And I think I just cramped up. But it's where basically they shoot one leg up, their head goes down, and they hold their ankle. If you held that as a stunt, it would be illegal because you're not passing through inverted. You're stopping inverted, extended, inverted. Okay? Everybody good with that? Again, great rewording because it allows you to teach everything so much better technique. And it just makes everything safer because the technique's so much better. Because when we do stunts, we always want everything to go up and settle back down to the stunt. You never do a stunt right to that level, okay? No questions on that? Beautiful. Here's another picture of a different version. This is basically what they did here, is they drove it up. Last year when they drove this up, you see how she's holding here, but they're inverted? That was illegal. So they had to actually do it where she snaps her wrist, like here at the head. Well, it made it so much lower, these bases couldn't catch it. It made it harder. Now, though, she can go up, they can spot it easier here and take it up. So it just makes everything much easier. But the pancake's the best version to look at to understand it. Okay? Now, another part of the pancake rule, and again, this is rewording. On inversions that require somebody, all inversions have always required somebody to touch the top, the trunk of the body, right? When they're inverted. Well, when you do a pancake or a waterfall, it is impossible to do that at the beginning of the pyramid, at the beginning of the stunt, right? Because I can't, when she's standing in a prep, I can't take this hand and go ahead and start touching her back. You have to let the head and the arms pass through, then you grab the back. So for that split second, there's no one touching it, right? But does that make it unsafe or increase the risk of an injury? No. As a matter of fact, that's how you want to do this type of stunt, so it makes it as safe as possible. So they've actually written that into the rules so that everyone understands that you can do this. So at competitions, you shouldn't have rule infraction people going, they weren't touching them as soon as they went into the pancake. That's because they don't have to now. Okay? The release to load, and so there's two exceptions now for this, the release. The release to load that we previously showed you all, the push up off the ground, and then any type of these foldovers, waterfalls, those type of stuff, where you have to let the head pass through before you get on the back. Okay? Everybody comfortable with this? Everybody good? Awesome. All right, suspend rolls. So in the past, all the suspend rolls, my goodness, there was pages. I felt like there was more rules about suspend rolls. It reminded me about the old pendulum. Remember the old pendulum where 19 people had to be here and you threw it over here and you couldn't do this and all that? Suspend rolls were like that. Forward suspend rolls, you could do this, this, and this, but not that. Backward suspend rolls, you couldn't do this. If it was single base, you had to do this, double base. All that's gone. Basically, suspend rolls are all just another type of inversion. Okay? There's only a couple of differences that you need to keep in mind. But first of all, backward, forward, all of that doesn't even matter anymore. You can go forward to something, you can go backward to something. You can single base forward, you can single base backward. Doesn't matter. I'm not sure why the backward suspend roll got such a bad name. I felt so bad for him. He's such an easy stunt, but for a long time, backward suspend rolls were considered a very scary thing. But anyway, it's all the same now. There's only a couple of changes to remember, and here they are. There are two differences between single and double base suspend rolls. Again, doesn't matter the direction. On a double base suspend roll, you can have hand-to-hand or hand-to-arm contact. Give me two people come up here. So basically what that means is, just take this hand and shake that hand. Hand-to-hand or hand-to-arm. Slide, yeah, not quite like, it'd be more like that. Okay, or like this. Some people on double base suspend rolls, they feel more comfortable holding at the forearm. Okay? Doesn't matter. You can do it either way. But on the single base, you can sit down now. Nicely done. Give them a big hand on the hand-to-hand. But on the single base, so on double bases, the weight is in between two bases. But on a single base where the weight comes over top at some point, we did not want that hand to arm because then all of the weight is pushing down and you could slide on the forearm. So on a single base, it has to be hand to hand, and it has to be both hands. Because like in All-Star, depending on what level, you can do one arms. Don't get that confused with the NFHS rules. It has to be both hands. Does everybody understand the difference on that? Any questions on that part? Especially if you work in the All-Star market and the school market, don't get confused on that and think you can now do single base with one arm and spin it easier. Okay, because you can't. You have to have both hands. The other difference is that single base suspend rolls require an additional spotter. But here's the thing about that. It really doesn't matter, because there's only one version of a suspend roll I can even think of where an additional spotter is not already built in. Y'all come up. So on this one as an example, you don't even have to do it. Just we're going to do the post one. So your post, go ahead and load up. And just like you're going to suspend roll leapfrog. Okay, so we're going to do, let's turn sideways though. There we go. So on this one, this is a single base suspend roll. Okay, she's going to roll over her. They're going to run around and catch it, right? As soon as they release, though, they're following her. What do they become? They're the spotter. Then when they catch it, they're the base again. Okay? You can pop down now. Almost every single base suspend roll is naturally designed to have spotters built into it. The only one that I don't know of, the only one I can think of that doesn't is if you have a single base person, a top person here, and they do like a Purdue up, y'all know what I'm talking about, where you flick the hands, pull up, and they usually shoot their hips up and stand on a shoulder stand. You could drive that up. They could single base through the hole and back to the ground. That's the only one where there's not automatically somebody else standing there to load it, so somebody would have to stand there. Okay, does that make sense, everybody? So don't let this one throw you off. Almost every one of them have built-in spotters anyway. But they just wanted to make sure with these single bases that there was somebody protecting. Any questions on suspend rolls? Man, you guys are smart. There it is again. This is a summary of all suspend rolls. Double base and single base. You can start from just about anything, ground, stunt, cradle, prep, load. You can go to anything but one-person cradles. That's the only thing you cannot go to. On the grip, that's where you have a change, hand-to-hand or hand-to-arm versus hand-to-hand. And you got to have a spotter, but the double base doesn't. And by spotter, that's additional spotter. Okay? Everybody good on that? Can I move the slide? Notes taken? Beautiful. All right. This is one of the two restrictions that are in place now. On this right here, what you have is you have a series of what we just set up. That's basically what you have a series of. Oops, I almost turned that over. Here's your post. Here's another post. Here's a set of cradlers. Here's bases with them who will then cradle her, and then they'll throw it. Does everybody see that stunt? You can no longer do that. The rule says that if you are going to be catching someone, you cannot be doing something else right prior to them taking off, basically is what it means. So in the past, all of those they'd go 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I would pitch 3, 4, turn 5, 6, catch 7, 8, another top. I can't do that now. The only way you can see this visual now is it would go 5, 6, 7, 8, go 1, 2, 3, 4, go 5, 6, 7, 8. You see the difference? Because now I throw on 3, 4, turn on 5, 6, they're dipping, they come over on 7, 8. I'm not doing anything now. I'm in position to only cradle. They just wanted to eliminate this. Let's say something were to happen here, so she reacts and goes to protect that one. Well, here comes her top person coming over, and now no one's there to catch her because they've reacted to maybe spot this person for some reason. So they just wanted to spread that out. Okay? Does everybody understand that? Now, I'm going to show you an example of something that people get this rule confused with, though. Can you hop up one more time? Do the single base suspend roll over and move around and catch it. Okay, so start back there as far as you can. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to show you all. Well, actually, I'm not going to show you. They're going to show you. I'm just going to talk about it. I am going to get out of their way, though. All right, so go ahead. We're going to do a single base suspend roll over a post. Okay? And again, you can do that. Everybody know what a leapfrog is? It's the same thing, except they're just going to roll over because they've already practiced it. So they go over, they move and catch it. Is that legal by this rule? Yes. People get, when I've already been doing this quite a few times, when people read this, they got confused with that because they're saying, well, the bases are doing something before they catch her. Yeah, but it's their stunt. They're doing it with the person they're catching. Does everybody see the difference? On these, they're not. They're catching other people. That one, it's the same person. Okay? So does that make sense to everybody? Is everybody good with that? Beautiful. I wish I had some, I don't have any like fun, maybe get up and do a dance or something. Let's get loud over here. Okay. Now, this one is one of the most logical rule changes. When you do stunts, okay, when we're doing stunts, what's one of the easiest ways to get out of stunts? Pop down, cradle, dismount, right? Well, up until this year, you were not allowed to do that from an inverted stunt because as soon as you released them, it became illegal because no one was touching them. So the only way you could get out of inverted stunts was basically drop the leg back down and step down, or you would transition to another set of bases or something like that, okay? But now, you can now dismount, all right? An inversion may now be released and land in a cradle or on the performing surface with the normal cradle and assisted landing rules applying. These dismounts may not have any skill happen, so you can't full twist them. You can't even split or kick or anything like that. You can't take your body out of this straight line, okay? All you can do is release to a cradle or release back to the performing surface, and that's 1 foot. So I could release to this position, 1 foot down, other foot up in a load like in tap, and go straight back up to a one-leg stunt, okay? So I can go to a cradle, and I can go back to the performing surface, all right? Does everybody understand this rule? A lot of people are getting confused with this, and they're saying, oh, I'm inverted. I can drive it up. She can 3/4 around, and I'll catch her in a load. Nope, can't do that. Why? It's not a dismount, right? They didn't land in a cradle or on the ground. They landed in a loading position. That's a release transition. That has to be braced, okay? So don't get the brace flip and brace releases confused with this rule. It's very simple, but it allows you to cradle or pop back down to the ground, okay? No spinning, no toe touches, straddles, anything like that. Everybody comfortable with that? And you can see right here, she drives it up. Again, she could go either way. Right now, her head is the back of her head is to y'all. On this one here, she actually pulls her head up and then just comes to the ground. She could also go the other way. She could take her head away from you and come up around this way to look at you into a cradle. Or she could come all the way around, 3/4 around, and land on the ground, which is much harder, okay? The easier ones are just to push the shoulders cradle or let the feet drop, pike down to the ground, okay? Everybody good on that one? Yes? Oh yeah, brace flip pyramid doesn't matter because first of all, you're involving so many more bodies. Okay, so we could pick her up into this and have a double base shoulder stand on each side to make the brace flip rules legal, and then you could take her up with 1 1/4 to whatever you want, as long as it doesn't land back in inverted. The only thing a brace flip cannot land in is back in an inverted position because they'd be leading with their head, because their arms would be pulled up. But you can start in an inverted for a brace flip and 1 1/4 to a cradle, flat back, prone, whatever. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. As a matter of fact, you could do that freestanding if you drop that leg to an L. If you drop it to an L, it's not even a release. You could just stand it up to it. But if you wanted to actually release and keep the feet up, you would just drive it up and you'd stand up to here. Okay? This is the other little restriction. I'm kind of bummed about this one. I understand it, but because I liked all the little, you could do front walkovers up and you pick up your sign and you have it in your cheer and stuff like that. Well, you can't do any of that anymore. Because inversions are allowed at shoulder level, and if you're in the inversion class, you saw where the top, she has her hands on the shoulders. And so since her hands are so close to the base's faces on some of these inversions, they didn't want them holding palms, signs, anything like that where they could hit their face or slide off the shoulders. So when you're doing inversions, you can't have props in your hands. So like, I couldn't do a front walk. I couldn't do like the little straddle to a shoulder stand, a shoulder sit, where I did I do my handstand on the sign, and when they pull me up, I have a sign. I couldn't do that. I'd have to be pulled up and then have the sign handed to me. Does everybody understand the difference on that? Okay. Okay, this one, log rolls. In the past, there was a rule written that said log rolls could not be connected to other people in a stunt. Okay? Well, what happened is that people started getting that confused, especially at competitions, with brace release visuals. So if I'm in a double base stunt, I grab somebody who's going to do a log roll. I have 3 people underneath it. I have a spotter, hand to hand. They do the log roll back down. That's perfectly legal. That's a brace release. But what was happening is, because of the way the log roll rule was written, people were saying, no, that's illegal because you're in contact with somebody in a stunt, which technically you were. The rule was meant to be, you can't have 2 log rolls connected and throw them both. That's what the rule was what it meant. So it was reworded. The top person is not in contact with another released top person, and that clears that up. Okay, so that leaves the brace pyramid release, the release pyramids, and leaves all that alone. And now I can't be a log roll, reach another log roll, have all of us throwing in the air, and we be in contact log rolling. Okay, I'm not really sure why you'd want to do that. I think it would take like 19 people, but hey. So you know what we said? That's silly. Don't do it. We're going to make a rule against it. So there we go. All right. Here's another little rule change. The catchers can turn a quarter turn, okay? One of the most dangerous things known to man was a base moving underneath the stunt. The rules were written so that you basically would not throw a basket toss and purposely throw it that way and run over here and catch it. That's what the rule was written for. Bases can't move unless safety reasons. But what happened was, people were, like quarter turns and all that kind of stuff. So then they wrote in, okay, well, from a side-facing stunt, we'll allow you to quarter turn. Or, okay, if you're going to throw a basket where you load in sideways and kick to the front and full down, okay, we'll let you turn quarter turn then. But in all honesty, why do we care what stunt they're quarter turning out of? Doesn't matter to me if you're facing this way, that way, face wherever you want. So basically the rule was just cleaned up. Bases and catchers can turn a quarter turn if they need to. This helps on some transition stuff where maybe you start out with your side base is actually going to end up being your back spot if you're doing some type of transition stuff or whatever. So now you don't really have to worry about this. Bases can turn underneath their stunt. They should be allowed just to turn as much as they want. That's not why the rule was written. There's no increased risk of injury for that. Okay? But that's how this was reworded. All right? Any questions on that? All right? Now, by the same token, I don't know why you would do a double base extension and quarter turn it to cradle this way, unless maybe you wanted to back walk out of it. That visual would look better side facing. Okay, so that allows all that to happen now. Okay? Everybody good on that one? All right, here's another little change on tumbling. The only change here is tumbling over or under a stunt, person, or a prop is illegal, with the exception of non-aerial tumbling over a person or prop. And basically that means, this is used in dance more so than maybe cheer, but I can cartwheel over a person for a formation change. I could cartwheel over a sign if I wanted to and pick it up. Those are non-aerial tumbling. Cartwheel, front walk over, okay? But a back handspring or a back tuck, that would still fall into, no, you can't do that over anything. Okay, because those are aerial tumbling. At one point, all parts of the body are off the ground. All right, everybody see the difference in that? So it's just a subtle change to allow a little bit more choreography stuff, formation changes, things like that. Do what? Or prop. Yep. Okay, so like cartwheels, rolls, that kind of stuff can go, oh yeah, but it's prop also. So I see, you're talking about here. Sorry. Yeah, it's over a prop too. Okay. Everybody good on that one? Okay. If you do not know about this site right here, write this down. This is cheerrules.com. You can go to this site, and the NFHS allows both myself and Jim Lord in particular to interpret rules on this site. It also the other thing that this site is always doing is, and we've just redone it, so it's still fairly new, the new version, is that we upload videos all the time as well. So I'm the rules interpreter for the state of Virginia, and I get a lot of videos. Hey, is this legal? Is this legal? If it's a good, clean video and I can see it real well and it shows real well a specific rule or visually explains it, we put it up on the site as well with an explanation on this is illegal because of rule da 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 da, or this is legal because of rule but 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 but. You can look up NFHS rules, ACA rules, college rules. It'll tell you if it's NFHS and ACA legal or illegal for one and legal for the other, any of that. Okay? So it's a good website to have. All right? Also, if at any time that you all have a question about a stunt that you're working on, you can write down this number. This is my cell number. It's 901-409-4307. And again, my name is Bill Ahern, A-H-E-R-N. You can send me a video clip by text. If you make it nice and clean and it really explains the rule well, I'll put it up on cheerrules.com also. Okay, but I will answer you back. Also, you can always email Jim Lord at jimlord@acca.org, AACCA.org. We interpret for most states to some degree. We either help them, like I said, we help the NFHS as well. For certain states, I'm actually their specific interpreter, but even for Oklahoma and other states like that, they'll call sometimes and we'll talk to the National Federation office so that we're all on the same page interpreting something that maybe we hadn't seen before or is new, okay? So those things right there will help you as far as interpreting rules and gray areas and knowing if you're within a safe parameter or not, all right? Does anybody have any questions about any of these rules? Anything that we've covered? Awesome. Well, first of all, you guys are really smart, and apparently my PowerPoint is really good because we seem to be on a good page right now. So I really appreciate y'all's attention on this. If you have any questions afterwards or whatever, come up and see me. Again, call me whenever if you have any questions. I'll be more than happy to help you guys. Thank you guys, and I hope your program stays safe as possible.
Okay, they're passing around the PowerPoint. As I speak, as I'm talking, I'm going to start this presentation. I'm going to pass these around. These are your sign-in sheets to get credit. The black is for dance. The white is for cheer. So as they're going down, I'm going to put them in run row, and then please pay attention. Not so much worried about signing this because I know this is a big thing, but so we can just get through this. Also, when I get done speaking at the back, we do have rule books that if you'd like to purchase rule books, we do have rule books back there for sale, and we'll have to get a single line instead of just dash over there. But anyway, I'll go and get started. For all those you don't know me, I'm Sally Marcus. I'm the executive director of the NMAA, but now I'm known as Miss Spirit in the office. I'm taking that over. But one thing about Spirit and being the executive director, I get to make all the decisions. Nobody can tell me no. So we've come a long way. It's been 2 years since I started directing Spirit, and I can't even begin to remember even 2 years ago where we were. I was at a national conference. I did meet Bill at a national conference, but I was at a national conference for the Federation, and I was in a Spirit session. And I'm sitting in the back. Nobody really knows me. I just go back in the back, and there's a lot of these Spirit gurus talking and everything else. And New Mexico came up, and I just kind of sat back there, and I didn't say anything. And they used us as an example for the changes that we've made in the spirit competition. And so it was just really exciting to hear that in 2 years that we're being talked about. But we have a long ways to go, and I want to keep moving this forward. I went to, we have the National Sports Officials Association here, and we're putting on a national conference that started this Saturday, and it's ending today, but we're kind of doing two things simultaneously. And I also run the sport of basketball too, and I got out of basketball and I turned to my associate director. I was sitting in there with a bunch of basketball officials, and I said, you know what, I think I'm kind of done with basketball. I was like, you know, I just want to focus on spirit and try to get where it needs to be. So you've got my undivided attention, and as a lot of you know me, you can call me, email me, I'll get back to you right away, anything that you want to ask. But we're headed in the right direction, and we'll keep going. Now we've made big pushes, so now it's going to be a little bit slower because we're there, but we still need a tweak to where it needs to be. Online rules clinic, if whoever's not here cannot attend, this will be online. As you notice, we've been filming, so whatever you didn't get, you didn't understand, Bill's presentation will be online beginning August 1st, along with what I'm saying. So it'll be on there up for your access the whole time. First day of competition, November 3rd. In other sports, we say that's the first day of practice. That doesn't work with spirit because you're all around. You're year-round. And so that's the first day that you can have a true competition. We need to make sure by December 15th you have your rosters online. And I know those fluctuate, but just make sure you're watching that and you have your rosters. I'm not so worried about pictures at that time because a lot of you like to wait for that. But make sure your rosters are online on December 15th. This is the big date, February 20th. 2 years ago, we actually last year was the first year we did extend that. You guys used to have to turn them in January, and it was a fine if you didn't do it. But we moved it back to a little bit later in February, and last year everybody had it in. Now I emailed and kept sending out emails to make sure you guys knew about the date. But February 20th, I need all registrations for state competition in. And the championships in the pit are March 27th and 28th. And yes, again, we'll be following the PBR. So they didn't do too bad getting that dirt out of there. I was pretty impressed. They did a good job. Sanctioned competition. The forms are on the website. If you see this year, it was a little bit different. I do have sanctioned competitions listed up to date. Actually, I did receive one that I sanctioned yesterday, so it's not online yet. But as you notice, there's only one per week. At this point, what happened last year is I was allowing, if they were in 3 parts of the state, sometimes we had 3 competitions a weekend, and we didn't have enough judges. We didn't have the quality judges to do 3 competitions. We struggled getting people out there. And then we noticed the judges wanted to go near their house and didn't want to travel, and it became a huge issue. So this year, I have stopped it at 1 competition per weekend until I can see the judges' pool. I won't know that till the end of August. At the end of August, if that takes place and we have enough judges, then I will expand that to no more than 2 a weekend, and they have to be 1 north, 1 south. I will not put 2 in the same area. So if you look at the sanctioned competitions, I already have about 4 competitions that are in line for certain dates just in case I expand it. So if it's one of you that wants to look at that, let me know. Please do not send anything for the month of February because I've been having to turn them back. We have so many that want to go in February, and I already have double for February if I open that up. So look at other dates. Like I was excited, Portales yesterday sent me one for December 20th. They thought outside the box. Finals are over, and it was an open weekend before everybody went on their winter break, have a competition. You have basketball games that weekend. You know, there's the other sports are competing. So I was able to sanction one for Portales yesterday.
What if you're attending a national competition that's required to be sanctioned?
That's part of the 3. Yeah,
But if it falls on one of the ones that...
That's okay. If it's out of the state, I've only put in, the ones that I'm talking about is varsity's having one in December, so I will not conflict with that because it's in New Mexico. But if you're going to regionals or nationals, I'll put those online when I get them, and yeah, we'll be able to sanction those. Okay? Any questions with that? Hey, this was the major complaint of people who were hosting. Whether we like it or not, you guys are falling under athletics. You are a sport. Some of you love it, some of you don't. Some of you want your own ideas, you know, but any which way, you are a sport. And when you have, say you're coming to a competition, it is just very unsportsmanlike that you call on the Thursday or Friday before and say, I am not coming. That you're talking about they've prepared for you, the financial part of it, you know, was preparation, everything else. So my suggestion is, I'm going to treat this just like a sport. My suggestion is if you're running a competition, there are contracts online that the athletic directors use for sports. When Farmington is playing Rio Rancho, they are engaged in a contract. It's just not, hey, I'm coming down to play you. They sign a contract. My suggestion is you use those contracts for your competitions. And if you have a signed contract, in the bylaws, it specifically states, depending on your classification, you could be fined $500 to $1,500 if you do not compete in that competition that you signed a contract for. So for those of you who are having competitions and hosting it, I highly suggest you do this. And those ones that are not hosting and going to them, guys, it's tough. It's hard to run a competition, and when you fall out at the last minute, and then you'll say, well, maybe buses, or I don't have enough kids, or this kid had to go somewhere, and they're not my base. Well, guess what? In the sport of basketball, if somebody's hurt, if somebody's academically ineligible, they still have to play that game. So we need to treat Spirit like that. This is, like I said, the complaint I had more this last year. Yes? No. Like, for example, if there's a snowstorm and let's say Pecos can't get to Penasco and their bus is trying and the bus driver calls me and says, I've got to turn this bus around. There's not. We think this is more for that I'm just deciding I'm not going to show up type situation. Okay? Licensed coaches. All coaches, paid, volunteer, they must be licensed through the education department. You must be licensed. And this year, if you are a brand new coach and you're just getting your license, your level 1 licensure, first aid course is now a requirement for licensure. Now that's going to be grandfathered in. If you already have the license, you don't need to worry about it. But if you are the first time you're getting your license, you're going to have to take a first aid course. Now on the second part of it, and I have to do this, guys, for liability, if you are not ACA certified as a coach, you will not be able to be at the state competition. It is very vital that you are ACA certified. And when I did that last year, I would say only 50% of our coaches are ACA certified. That is a huge liability on your school. If something happens, your school is going to be in a legal lawsuit. So you must be ACA certified. So not only coaching license, ACA. I just told the athletics directors that just about an hour ago, to make sure all coaches are ACA certified. So go through that training. Okay.
And the test is online through the NFHS server.
Yes, test is online. Yes.
Will coaches renewing their license need to do first aid?
No. It's just for brand new ones. Yes, so you'll be okay. Now, the first aid course, that was a good question. As she said, our coaches who are renewing their license have to do first aid. No, they will not have to, but I highly suggest NFHS Learn. They have a great first aid course. Whether you're renewing your license or you even have your license, I highly suggest you use that course and just go on that and take the first aid. It's never too late. What we're doing at the schools with the athletic directors, and they're going to be bringing it to you guys, it's going to take a year or two, is we're going to do Project Heart Start. We're trying to make sure all our coaches are CPR trained in the new technique. I mean, hey, I remember in the 70s I was learning how to do CPR and the breath and 10 here, and hey, it's not even that anymore. So I suggest that if Project Heart Start, if anything's offered in your school, to get CPR certified as well. I don't know if you're aware, we did have an athlete 4 years ago that died. while training up in the mountains. And nobody except the kid who passed away was CPR certified. So, it's just vital. You just never know. You just never know. So anyway, judges trainings. We'll have one in Albuquerque this year, in Las Cruces. I do not have the dates of those yet, but please, please recruit. Recruit your old cheer and dance students. If you want to judge, the only stipulation we have is you will not judge when you're at that competition. So if you live in the north, I'd probably love to send you south to judge. We need judges. That is our problem in the state of New Mexico right now. We don't have enough judges in a large enough pool. So please, please, I just found out today, I was kind of saddened, but we can still have them judge, that 2 good judges that we thought would be in our pool just accepted coaching positions. So, but coaches, you can judge too. So just, we need your help. We really do. 18. And there's some 18 or 1 year out, I think is what it is exactly. But, or 19, usually it's probably going to be 19, but 1 year out of high school with some experience, okay? No, they do not have to be licensed coaches, okay? Classifications, as you know, we did not increase classifications. That is just a misconception. We always had 6 classes. I know that sounds crazy in the state of New Mexico, but when you have schools that actually have only 20 kids in their high school, it's very hard to compete against kids that have 100 in your high school. And I know some of you guys cannot, think about it that way, but it is. It's very difficult. I mean, that's 4 or 5 times your school. So that's why New Mexico has so many classes. We did not change that. Last year we had Class B, A through 5A. In this new classification system, those Class B schools just didn't feel like why am I called a B? It just did not feel very good. So that's why we went A through 6A. We did not increase. It's just that we just moved up. So B is now A is now 2A, so on and so forth. So in spirit, this is what it's going to be. Nothing has changed as to what we have done before. Because in spirit, B and A were kind of one and the same last year. So nothing has changed in the classifications, but this is what it will look like. 2 panels. The judges worked out great last year. We're going to be doing the same thing. It was quite a bit of money, but it was okay. I'm not worried about the cost. I'd rather have the quality, and we had great judges last year. I don't know if you heard Josh McCurdy speak yesterday. Actually, and then Kim Bowie earlier today. Kim, thank you. Thank you for what you said today. Talked about judges and the quality of judges that we had and how professional they are. And so we're going to continue that. Vanessa and I have worked on that last year since September. We had secured every single judge by October. And I was trying to get tickets, and so somebody told me, Sally, that's way too early to get tickets. Well, it worked out. But we already had airline tickets for all these judges, by November last year. So before you guys even started competing, we already knew who was going to be our judges. We'll be doing the same thing. Tech judges at state. I go to the principal's office because it wasn't a joke. But when everybody said, can you please go to suite, I don't remember what number it was. You guys probably knew the number. It was like, oh my God, I'm in trouble, or what did we do wrong? And then all the whispers of, what did they do wrong? Oh my God, they got some points taken off and everything else. So this year, what we're going to be doing, we're still going to do the same thing because it worked out real well. We were able to bring the tech judges. There were some that actually we reversed. When we talked to the tech judges and we talked to the coach and we looked at the whole thing and explanation. And then others, we were telling the coaches, it was 80% of them stood, but the coaches understood. They understood when we explained what was the deduction, so when they got their final score, it wasn't a surprise. And so we're going to continue that. However, instead of so-and-so go to the principal's office, what we're going to do is we're going to ask every coach 15 to 20 minutes after their competition to go up to suite so-and-so, see me, whether you have a deduction or not. So it's just everybody's going to go up there instead of us calling the school that's got in trouble, okay? So we'll take care of that. Okay, score sheets. We're still working on score sheets. I have talked to a lot of national judges, met with the sports-specific committee yesterday, and I will unveil the score sheets in a few weeks. Not much change, a little bit. We have seen that, where does difficulty go in game day, stuff like that. We've also looked at choreography and dance. We thought we were a little bit heavy on choreography and dance this last year. That might move, instead of 40, go to 30. To even that out a little bit for those that do not pay a choreographer. So we're looking at things like that. Also in cheer specifically, some of those classifications set at 10 points, we've actually broken down to 5 and 5, some 5-point ones. I know a few years ago everybody says, well, we want 10s. And what's happening with 10s, and as I'm looking at it, it's too wide of a gap. 10, some got a 4, some got an 8, but when you're at 5, you're a little bit closer as to what does that mean. And so we're going to do bullet points, what does it mean, and get a little bit more explanation. So I didn't want to unveil them today because I want to make sure they're correct, they're good, and they have some content there that you would understand what the judges are going to be looking for. So those will be coming. State Spirit Championship registration forms, again, received by February 20th. We're in the pit. Hope you like the pit, And I want to tell you that on Monday after state competition, I arranged for speakers on the floor. So I knew that was a problem, and we tried with UNM, and I argued with them, and they kept telling me we were going to break the system, and I said, I don't care, I'll break the system. But it was just back and forth. So some of you that didn't bother the music because I had talked to UNM into doing it high, and then when they got mad at me because it was too high, they lowered it, and I was upstairs, and I know that was a problem. So I've arranged for speakers on the floor, and I am going to require your first piece of music is going to be an iPod. That is better at UNM than a disc. So that is going to be a requirement. Now, what I am going to try to do, I can't guarantee it, I'm going to work with UNM to see if I can open up Thursday night for a couple hours, no kids, no parents, just a coach to come in and test their music on Thursday night. I know coaches, you're with your kids, you might have to keep them in the bus, but I don't know if UNM will let me do this. If we have kids running around the pit, then we're going to have security and everything else. So if I'm going to do this, it's going to have to be without kids, and I know that's tough. You're going to have a parent assistant coach watch the kids in the hotel room or something, but I'm trying to do it so we don't have the music problems we had this last year. So I will let you know, and hopefully they don't charge us parking to try to test the music. So we'll see. Yes. Yes. I just not a disc. The discs were the problems last year. I want a disc for your backup. You're going to have a backup or another iPod, but we just got to try to get away from that. We just got to try what's best for the pit. Okay. And then we're going to go with the same schedule. I've talked to the sports-specific committee and a lot of coaches. The schedule from the warm-up, the check-in to the pictures to the warm-up was really good. How much time you had to get on the ramp was decent. So we're going to stick with the same schedule. However, I'm flip-flopping dance and cheer. So in other words, cheer will go first, dance will go second. So on Friday, we'll do all cheer, then we'll do all dance. On Saturday, we'll have the A through 4A, we'll go cheer, dance, and then we'll have our awards, and then we'll do the same thing for 5A through 6A, but we'll go cheer, dance, awards. Okay, so it's the same schedule, but we're flip-flopping. Now, you saw, this is my last slide. I need your help. We just kicked off about an hour and a half ago. I changed my shirt because we have a new NMA sportsmanship initiative. This is New Mexico's own. We are trademarking it. Our new slogan for our sportsmanship initiative is compete with class. And we need to compete with class. We have a curriculum. We have all of this stuff that's coming out, and we just unveiled it to the athletic directors. But what I said in the meeting was, it's going to start with spirit. You guys know that. And so all I ask is, we'll be giving you guys t-shirts and things like that. We just don't have that many just printed out at this moment. But all I'm asking is, please, please, if you can buy into this initiative, you'll see it, and it'll be online, and we'll start getting more information out. I'm going to give you guys lanyards that have Compete with Class all over it today, so you can start with it. But if you can just help me, we have a problem. We know that. And what I did a year ago is I went to our staff and I said, guys, I'm tired. Pursuing Victory with Honor was a California initiative. NFHS sportsmanship, it's up to you. Yes, we're under the NFH umbrella, but it's another national initiative. And I don't think New Mexico is going to buy in unless we have our own. We're so unique. And so what I did is I got some athletic directors, coaches, actually students and administrators, and we met. We started last October, and we have been meeting all year. And what came out in all those meetings was really interesting. It's not the kids that are the problem, it's the adults. It's the parents, it's the coaches on sidelines, it's the fans. And so what we have with this initiative, basically, if it sums it up, it's like stay in your lane. In other words, we have different things for every aspect, even officials, as to what we should be doing. We have coaches. What should you be doing with the sportsmanship initiative? And so as we unveil this, I just ask the guys that you are the leaders. You are the leaders in the school, and the only way we're going to get better in sportsmanship, because it is bad. And I know sometimes in that it talks about gamesmanship. We have some gamesmanship within spirit. You know, we have, nowadays, it is illegal, guys. I talked about this last year, for you to start filming somebody else's routine. That is illegal. And we do that. A lot of you guys are just like, okay, and doing that, but that's not right. Just, do it like you're supposed to. If you're watching somebody else's routine, write it down on paper. That's okay. But starting to film and do that stuff and trying to get away with it, or, it just doesn't work out. So I need you guys to be our leaders with this. Compete with class. You guys are classy. Like I said, I'd rather be with you, and I'm a fish out of water when it comes to spirit. Not anymore. I'm a goldfish now, okay? I'm getting in there. But I just think you guys are it. And so let's compete with class all year. And remember, as you guys know, my cell phone is online. I do not have a secretary. It goes directly to me. I answer my phone all the time, 24/7. I answer my emails. Sometimes you might get it at 4 in the morning. Sometimes if you look at the time. But I do answer all my emails, and I get back with you. And I'm going to continue to do that. So please make sure you're open. And I'm excited for this year. We've got some great things. I appreciate you. Make sure you sign in. Make sure if you want to buy rule books in the back. And thank you so much. It's been a great 2 days. Thank you very much.